The desert sun burned high in the sky as masked men fanned out, rifles in hand, surrounding the lone semi-truck idling on the highway. They thought it would be an easy hit, just another helpless driver with cargo ripe for the taking. But when the door swung open and a man built like a tank stepped out, wielding a battle-scarred rifle, they realized their mistake. A deadly mistake. They thought they had the upper hand until he stepped out ready for war. What would you do in his place? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more intense stories. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the empty stretch of desert highway. The heat shimmered off the cracked asphalt as Logan eased his rig to a stop at a rest area that looked like it had seen better days. A lone fuel pump stood rusted near the edge of the lot, and a weather-beaten diner sign flickered erratically. Logan had been on the road for hours, and the thought of a hot meal and a few minutes of peace was tempting. But as soon as he stepped out of his truck, something felt off. It wasn't just the eerie quiet of the place he was used to that. No, it was something else, a feeling. His instincts, honed from years on the road and a past life he didn't talk about, told him he wasn't alone. He glanced around, scanning the lot. That's when he noticed them. 5 figures, all dressed in tactical gear, their faces obscured by black masks, stood near the entrance to the diner. They weren't eating, they weren't talking, they were just watching. Logan didn't break stride. He walked casually toward the diner, his steel-toed boots crunching against the gravel, but his mind was already racing. These weren't just drifters or truck stop troublemakers. Their stance, the way they held themselves, it screamed training. One of the men, the tallest of the group, peeled away from the others and approached. His jacket was unzipped just enough for Logan to spot the grip of a pistol tucked into his belt. "Evening, driver," the man said, his voice low and even. Logan gave a slow nod. "Evening." The man tilted his head toward the truck. "Nice rig. Hauling anything special?" Logan shrugged, keeping his expression neutral. "Just freight." The man smirked. "Yeah? Must be some valuable freight to be running out here alone." Logan didn't take the bait. "Just another job." The air felt heavier, thicker. Logan could feel the others moving, spreading out. The man let out a small chuckle. "See, my friends and I, we keep an eye on these roads. Make sure nothing unfortunate happens to folks passing through." Logan's jaw tightened. "That right?" The man took a slow step closer. "Yeah, but you're sitting on something real valuable, ain't you?" His eyes flicked toward the truck, then back to Logan. "Maybe you want to share?" Logan exhaled slowly, resisting the urge to glance back at his truck. He had to play this smart. He was outnumbered, at least for now. Inside the diner, an old man behind the counter peered nervously through the window. A lone waitress, young, barely 20, stood frozen by the coffee machine. She had seen this before. Logan rolled his shoulders and let out a small, humorless chuckle. "You know, I've met a lot of guys like you." The man grinned. "Yeah? And how'd that turn out for them?" Logan's expression darkened. "Not great." The man's smirk faded just slightly, but he covered it quickly. "Listen, old man, we can do this the easy way or the hard way." Logan's fingers flexed slightly. He already knew which way it was going to go. The pieces were moving, the trap was closing, and these guys had no idea what was coming. The air between them turned heavy, thick with unspoken threats. The leader, the one with the smirk and the pistol barely hidden beneath his jacket, took another step forward, closing the gap between himself and Logan. "You got 2 choices, trucker," the man said, his voice quieter now, but sharper like a blade pressed just barely against skin. "You let us have a look at what you're hauling, and we all walk away happy. Or," he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Behind him, his crew shifted. One of them cracked his knuckles. Another adjusted the strap on his rifle. The others didn't move, but Logan could feel their eyes on him, waiting for the moment things got ugly. Inside the diner, the old man behind the counter had disappeared, likely slipping into the back room. The waitress still stood frozen, her hands gripping the edge of the counter, white-knuckled. Logan let out a slow breath through his nose. He had been in situations like this before too many times to count. He knew that when men like this started talking about choices, they weren't really offering any. The leader, growing impatient, tilted his head. "You deaf, old man? Or just stupid?" Logan didn't respond. Instead, he glanced at the men behind him, watching as they subtly fanned out, cutting off his angles. They were tightening the noose. One of the masked men, a wiry guy with a scar running down his cheek, spat on the ground. "I say we stop wasting time. Pull him off the truck and see for ourselves." Another man grinned. "Yeah, he looks like the kind of guy who needs a little convincing." Logan's fingers twitched at his side. He had spent years learning to control his temper, to pick his battles, to know when to fight and when to walk away. But this wasn't a fight he could walk away from. The leader sighed dramatically, shaking his head like a parent scolding a disobedient child. I tried to be nice. I really did. Then, without warning, he lunged. A fist came flying toward Logan's gut, but he was already moving. He twisted, letting the punch glance off his ribs instead of landing clean. The second man, Scarface, was faster, grabbing Logan's jacket and yanking him forward. Logan stumbled but caught himself, planting his feet just as another man grabbed his arm. They were done talking, and Logan was done playing along. Scarface tightened his grip on Logan's jacket, yanking him forward. The leader of the masked men sneered, already reaching for the pistol at his hip. They thought they had him pinned. They thought wrong. Logan moved like a coiled spring snapping loose. He twisted his body, using Scarface's own grip against him. In one swift motion, Logan grabbed the man's wrist and wrenched it sideways with a sickening crack. Scarface howled, his knees buckling as he crumpled to the dirt. The others barely had time to react. Logan pivoted, driving an elbow into the gut of the next man who tried to grab him. The air whooshed out of the attacker's lungs as he doubled over, wheezing. Another reached for his rifle, but Logan was faster. He yanked the man's arm down, using his momentum to send him sprawling into the dust. The leader's gun was half drawn now, but Logan was already on him. A steel grip closed around the man's wrist, forcing the gun's barrel skyward as it fired. The shot cracked through the air, sending birds scattering from the telephone lines. Before the leader could fire again, Logan twisted his arm, forcing the pistol free. The gun dropped to the dirt. Logan kicked it away. The leader's cocky grin was gone now, replaced by something closer to fear. "You boys thought this was going to be easy," Logan growled, his voice low, steady. "You picked the wrong truck." A flicker of hesitation rippled through the remaining men. Logan rolled his shoulders. "Last chance. Walk away." But he already knew the answer. They weren't done. And neither was he. Scarface staggered back, clutching his busted wrist, his breath ragged. The rest of his crew hesitated, their bravado crumbling like dust in the wind. Their leader was on the ground, their best fighters already writhing in pain. The odds weren't in their favor anymore. Logan could see it in their eyes, the realization. They had picked the wrong man, the wrong truck, the wrong damn fight. One of them, a younger thug with a trembling rifle, took a shaky step back. "Screw this man," he muttered. "He ain't normal." Scarface whipped his head toward him, furious. "Shut up," he snapped. "We got the numbers." Logan let out a low chuckle and shook his head. "Numbers don't mean much when you don't know how to fight." Scarface roared, forcing himself up despite the pain. "Kill this son of a—" But before he could finish, Logan moved. In a blur, he grabbed the shotgun from the ground, Scarface's own weapon, and fired a round into the dirt at their feet. The blast sent a shockwave through the group, making them stumble back, eyes wide. "You want another?" Logan growled, racking another shell. Silence. Scarface looked around, realizing what Logan had already figured: Aldous men weren't willing to die for him. Logan took a slow step forward, dropped the weapons. No one moved. Another step. "I said drop them." The first rifle clattered to the ground, then another, then another. Scarface's face twisted in rage. "You cowards!" "You're the coward," Logan said, his voice even, dangerous. "You needed 5 men to take on 1 trucker." Scarface's jaw clenched. "You think this is over?" Logan smirked. "Nah, but you're done." He turned toward the abandoned highway, where a dust cloud was rising in the distance, headlights coming fast. Truckers. Logan had sent out the distress signal 5 minutes ago, and now the cavalry had arrived. One by one, massive rigs rolled up, engines rumbling like thunder. The gang of masked men stood frozen, knowing there was no way out. Truckers stepped down, their boots hitting the dirt, their faces hardened by years on the road. These weren't men who asked for trouble, but they sure as hell finished it when it came knocking. One of the older truckers, a grizzled vet named Roy, spat on the ground. "Heard you boys were trying to rob a trucker." Another trucker cracked his knuckles. "That's a mistake." Scarface knew he was done. The numbers had flipped. "Take a walk," Logan said, motioning to the empty road. "If I ever see you again, I won't be so nice." Scarface swallowed hard, nodding. His crew didn't need convincing. One by one, they turned and ran, disappearing into the dust, humiliated, beaten, and broken. As Logan watched them vanish, Roy clapped him on the shoulder. "Damn fine work, kid," Logan smirked. "Just another day on the road." The truckers laughed, engines roaring to life. Logan climbed back into his rig, knowing one thing for sure. No one would dare mess with a trucker again. As the dust settled and the gang disappeared into the horizon, Logan took a slow breath, letting the weight of the night sink in. He had been through worse wars, betrayals, long nights with nothing but the hum of the road to keep him company. But this was different. Roy and the other truckers lingered for a moment, watching Logan with knowing eyes. They didn't need to say anything. Out here on these roads, respect wasn't given, it was earned. And tonight, Logan had earned it tenfold. Roy gave him a nod. "Drinks are on us next time you roll through." Logan smirked, gripping the door of his truck. "Appreciate it. But I don't plan on seeing those punks again." Roy chuckled. "Oh, they won't be back. Not after tonight." One by one, the rigs pulled away, their engines fading into the night. Soon, it was just Logan and the open road again, just the way he liked it. He climbed into the cab, setting his shotgun back in its place before resting his hands on the worn leather wheel. He glanced at the faint reflection in the side mirror, his own eyes staring back at him, lined with years of experience, miles of hard lessons. This wasn't just about a fight. It never was. People like those masked men, they always thought the world was full of easy targets. They saw truckers as loners, as nobodies. They mistook silence for weakness, patience for fear. But they always learned. Some men fold when trouble comes knocking. Others, they stand their ground. Logan had made his choice a long time ago. The sky stretched endlessly above him, the last streaks of sunset fading into a deep, inky blue. The road ahead was empty, calling him forward like it always did. Logan took one last look at the place where the fight had gone down, then shook his head with a quiet chuckle. Some people never learn. With that, he started the engine, the deep growl of his rig breaking the silence. The headlights cut through the darkness as he pulled onto the highway, rolling steady into the unknown. Because at the end of the day, there was only one truth. The road always tests a man, and only the strong keep driving. Now, what about you? Have you ever been in a situation where someone underestimated you? Have you ever had to stand your ground when no one else would? Drop your stories in the comments below. And if you like this one, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more real stories from the road.